The Forsaken Children believes that children, all children, including the street children of Ethiopia, need and deserve the love and protection of a nurturing family. The Forsaken Children exists to bring the hope of Christ not only to Ethiopia as a nation, but to the least of these, her precious children. We exist to be Christ to these children. Our mission, our heart, and our greatest challenge is to answer Christ's call to give these precious children the chance to be rescued from a life on the streets and given the hope of being nurtured, truly loved, and cared for. Even more importantly, we aim to provide these children with a tangible example of a loving Father, God, who cares so much for the well-being of both their bodies and their souls.
I'm Joe Bridges, and I am the co-founder, along with my wife Karen, of The Forsaken Children. What we're all about is the street children of Ethiopia. From the beginning, we've been about seeing these children be reconciled back with families, because we really feel like that is the solution to the problem of street children in Ethiopia. The statistics of the number of street children in Ethiopia alone is pretty overwhelming. The numbers alone let you know that it's a huge problem. But I think for us, what gripped us is when we were there and we walked out of our door every day and there were street children.
I thought I was prepared for what I was going to see because I just finished 3 months and heard all the horrible things that happen to kids all over the world. And so to be there and see it firsthand was beyond emotional. I think it would have been even if I hadn't been pregnant, but it was heightened because I knew, I was starting to feel like, okay, this is what it is to be a mother, because I had a baby in my belly. And so to see, in fact, the thing that got me the most was seeing the mothers on the streets with their infants. And I couldn't turn away from it. I wanted to not ever see that image again. I wanted to never have to think about mothers on the street with newborn babies, but I couldn't. God wouldn't allow me to turn my eyes from it. He said, I want you to see this because I want to use you in the lives of these moms and these kids.
The Forsaken Children really is a huge resource for our partner project in Ethiopia known as Onesimus. Onesimus is really the hands and feet of the ministry. They are the Ethiopian men and women who go out and who minister to the street children.
TFC really works to empower the Ethiopians. I think a lot of times they think that because we're Americans, maybe we know more than they do, but really they know more than we would ever know about their culture and their people.
The analogy of Onesimus being like a vehicle, and the Forsaken Children, we basically offer them the fuel to keep them going. And that vehicle is going out and ministering to street children, and what we do is we refuel them. I think the bigger picture for Onesimus is they go after the street child, and then after they kind of go after them and initially, for lack of a better word, catch them, they stick with them. And the way that looks, I think practically, is the staff, the Ethiopian men and women who run Onesimus, they actually go out on the streets and they get to know the children on their turf. And eventually they're able to then kind of draw them in to the Onesimus drop-in center. So they come on our turf, so to speak. They come on Onesimus's turf. At the drop-in center phase, I think the real pivotal pieces is that they're offering them tangible things they need, from food to clean clothes to being able to bathe and take showers. So the drop-in center phase is really, I think, where a lot of the kids get caught, so to speak. They start to see some consistency of care. After the drop-in center is really where we're able to start to reintegrate these children back into existing family if they exist. For those children who don't have family that are in existence or who family that can really care for them, we also have the halfway home. What happens is true discipleship. And it's what you see as the house parents pouring in tangible care for these children. But while they do it, they're also praying for them and they're ministering to them and sharing really their own personal journeys and their own personal testimonies with these children. And
the house mother has actually been there when several of them have come to Christ, because she is so fervent in her prayers for them.
So in the halfway homes, we see some pretty powerful changes happen in a lot of the children. So I'm always amazed with Desi, and the reason he comes to mind because I've known him through his whole process. And it's really seeing him about 2 or 3 years ago to seeing him now, and you can't even recognize that he's the same child. He was so wrapped up in the streets and the street life. I think he felt abandoned. If you saw him on the streets, he looked happy, because we would run into him and he would be all smiles. And I know there was things on the streets, drugs even, that he was addicted to, so he was experiencing that euphoria again. But then he would always come back, and I think the count was in 1 year he was back and forth from the streets to Onesimus 15 times. So there's always something just drawing him back to both places. And then I remember when I saw the difference was when I went back on a short trip where I worked with NAGA on some strategic planning, and Desi met us at the airport. And he politely gave me a side hug and shook my hand and carried my bags. And I'm like, something is different about Desi. And from that point on, he has not left Onesimus. So there's been a very significant change. And I know for Desi, he has had a very real conversion experience, a real interaction with Christ. And so I know that is really what's driving his big change. Desi went from a child who was, I would say, officially addicted to street life, to being a child who is comfortable in the home he's in, to being a child who's actually starting to excel in school, to be a child who loves to sing Christian music, and just he's alive now in a different way. He got it, yeah. He got it because Onesimus, as an entity, but the individual Ethiopians who run Onesimus, they did not give up on Desi. And I think that's what's special about Onesimus, and that's what drives the Forsaken Children to keep encouraging them and keep behind them. To put it concisely, the Forsaken Children's needs are for those who will partner with us financially, who realize that there is a financial burden to caring for discipling children and bringing them off of the streets and put them into families. And along with that, there is huge need for prayer for these children, because it's not just men and women who are doing this. It's the act of God working through these men and women to do it. And then on top of that, Karen and I can't be the only advocates for the Forsaken Children and for Onesimus. So we need people who will come alongside of us and work with us to advocate and raise awareness for what we're doing in Ethiopia.